All right. The Copilot Delusion. Seems exciting. By the way, whenever I see all this, it just makes me it makes me feel like I am unprepared for whatever is about to happen. Whatever is about to happen, I'm not prepared for this. Okay? This post was written in May 2025, and the arguments apply to AI code capabilities at this time. The arguments around lack of competence are certainly likely to become less prevalent, while the parts about the desecration of the joys of programming and fundamental human understanding of programming are likely to become more prevalent as AI coding improves. I know this is not even a part of really the whole thing we're reading here, but I do want to kind of put something on this right here, is that the joys of programming, I think, really only extend to the reasons why you enjoy programming. There are people who the enjoyment of programming comes from building the thing. The process's joy is from the building itself, not from the destination. It's really the journey that is enjoyable. And some people's destination is the journey. Some people's destination is the destination, if that makes sense. And so for some people, I know that a completed product is the thing that they want. They don't really care about the inside. They don't care what it took. Levels.io would be a great example of this, right? He uses jQuery. He just hosts it. He raw dogs hosts that bad boy. Code craftsmanship is not a thing that he enjoyed. And this was before AI was a thing, right? He's made millions of dollars off of software that probably wasn't the world's greatest handwritten artisanal code of all time, yet he was able to make a whole bunch of money and able to do what he loves to do before AI was a big advent. And now that AI is a huge part of our programming, he continues to build what he wants to build, but now he uses AI a whole bunch because his version of joy of programming comes from completing of the project. Now that's a very different experience. Not everybody has that experience. For me, joy of programming comes more from programming than it does from finishing the product. So these are very different experiences. But I will say that this last line right here, the fundamental human understanding of programming are definitely going to become desecrated. I already feel that myself, right? Whenever I build something and I don't write it, I just try to like vibe it out because I don't want to do, like, say the front end. I'm like, just give me a front end. I don't really care what it looks like. I always end up regretting it. And then I feel this like resistance to learn what it is because I don't really want to finish it. And so it becomes, I totally understand this. And I can imagine that me, as somebody who is a generalist who really understands many forms of programming and really, really gets things, if I feel that hesitancy to just jump in and doing stuff, then I can imagine that it's worse. It is worse, especially for juniors who don't have that same level of instant understanding that I would have after years of doing this. Chapter 1, my coworker, the programmer, a shell of a man, more of a parrot than a person, my boss, a true believer in the sacred right of pair programming. I hate pair programming. Chained myself and this programmer colleague together like conjoined twins from different planets. We shared a keyboard, but not a brain. Lord, not even close. Hold up, I've got an idea. Give me the keyboard real quick. Ah, an idea, yes. The same way a toddler has an idea. To stick a fork in a wall socket. I was halfway through constructing something beautiful. A lean, elegant piece of logic that sliced through complexity like a blade through butter. And here he comes, pounding the keyboard like it owes him money. Pasting in code from Frankenstein from Stack Overflow comment written by Uncle Bob Disciple in 2014. Did he know what the system did? No. Did he read the ticket? Absolutely fucking not. Did he feel confident mutating global state with reckless abandon? He absolutely fucking did. By the way, I hate pair programming. I have never once thought programming itself, or I guess you could have convinced me of this 17 years ago that programming itself was like a part that would be beneficial to pair programming and that it would be good. But I've never really had the same thing. It's like, here, I'll just solve a problem. You can review it and tell me if it's good or not. That's code reviews for me. I don't like pair programming is just not going to really do a lot for me. I don't know. I hate it. Anyways, so I feel this pain. I absolutely feel this pain very, very much. And you know what the worst part is? Have you ever pair programmed with somebody? And let's just pretend that you can type really well and they can't. Pair debugging is good. I like pair debugging. Pair debugging is really, really good because you're pooling collective experience together to solve a problem. And you both can do it at the same time and talk to each other about what you're finding. Pair programming, you can't do that. It's much, much different. Not a big fan. Not a big fan at all. I forgot what I was going to say, but I feel this guy's pain. I'm doing some refactoring, tightening the bolts, cleaning up componentries, realigning the chakras of the system. Ah, good old-fashioned chakra sync. Suddenly, hey, I've added a use effect that refreshes everything when anything changes. Cool, right? Why? I asked, blinking like a hostage on a tape sent home from the military operation gone wrong. I fixed the thing, he says, where the thing wasn't working. It's working now. A chaos monkey disguised as a teammate. No test, no profiling, no understanding of the side effects or performance impact, just blind clicking and tapping and typing. The programming equivalent of punching your TV to make the static stop. I will say that this is a first good step. And what I mean by that is that often doing the dumbest possible solution can be a good thing, in the sense that you get at least an idea of where the problem is not. He knows that if he does a full refresh of everything, whatever problem is wrong, okay, good. We now know that something is there. So what's the problem? Where's the difference? You just don't want to stop at the simplest, most shortcut solution because it can be very naughty. Turn your program on and off again. Exactly. And as he did this with everyone, a one-man bug factory, whispering half-formed solutions into the ears of juniors like a sick, twisted, full-stack Rasputin. Apparently, friendly fire will be tolerated. Dang. Calling him a full-stack Rasputin might be the most insane burn I've ever read in my entire lifetime. The system explodes. Nothing deploys. The UI is frozen like vegetables in my freezer I was supposed to defrost 8 years ago. And where's my dear Copilot? Nowhere. He's vanished. Probably reading about a new shiny JS framework that he'll try to shove down my throat next week. Meanwhile, I'm left spelunking through callback hell with a flashlight made of regret. That is pretty good. That's a pretty good state. I want a flashlight made of regret. This is fantastic. My boss corners me. Why aren't you pairing more with him? He types twice as fast as you. Of course he does. So does a cat having a seizure on a mechanical keyboard, but that doesn't mean it should be writing production code. True. Speed of the code you write isn't necessarily the most important thing. If you're not using your brain for when you're typing, then that's a problem. I always highly recommend, by the way, learning how to type fast. As side note, sidebar, get to 80 words a minute. The reason why I say this is not because I'm saying that typing fast is going to make a huge impact in the speed in which you're writing, but even if it does, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you don't have to use thinking power to execute your ideas, and that is really important. People looking at the keyboard, if you have to look at the keyboard, just remember that is time spent thinking that you just don't want to do. Just don't spend your brain power. You know what I mean? Don't spend brain power literally searching on a keyboard. Yeah, I always disagree at this point, but I didn't know you were talking about 80 plus. I think 80 is a good place to at least shoot for. 80 is a good place to shoot for. And brain power is it's not about speed. It's about the ability not to have to consider every one of your actions you take on your fingers. That spends mental capacity. Whether you like it or not, you are a finite being that has a finite amount of ability. The more autopilot you can do something, the better. It's just true. I don't care what anyone says. It doesn't make any sense to not believe that, right? It just seems crazy, right? It just seems crazy to think that you can just do an activity of searching all the time and it makes no fatigue into your body. Let's see. Okay. I kept pushing myself, learning infrastructure, refining my mental model, sweating over trade-offs, and he Googled, he skimmed, he pasted. Occasionally he showed off a clever trick, half-corrected and contextless. Yet the team would ooh and ah like a caveman discovering fire. And I got lazy. Of course I did. When the system forces you to code with a hallucinating clown, eventually you stop resisting. You let him type. You let him be productive. You check out. You surrender your brain to the noise and just float. Dude, I feel exactly where this is going. I feel it. I totally get this. I feel you, buddy. Man, this guy types fast. This coworker of yours types super fast. But man, is he wrong. I'm now using Super Maven again, right? There you go. I'm now using Super Maven again. But man, I will tell you this much. I still get more bugs when I let Copilot run than me coding it, just because I accept things and they look correct. It's just my deep thinking through every piece of code isn't quite there. And so I end up just letting things sneak by that I normally wouldn't do, right? And it feels so painful, but I will never write. I've decided as part of like my life goal that I will never, ever write another slog statement ever again in my lifetime. Copilot, or not Copilot, Super Maven is in fact going to write it for me. I will never do it again. Manually typing print statements is just killing me on the inside. Captain Obvious here to save the day. I wasn't talking about a programmer. I was describing GitHub Copilot or Claude Codex or OpenAI in IMNOP 6.5 Ultra Watermelon. True. I know Ultra Watermelon pretty good, I'd say. This isn't about tools or productivity or acceleration. It's about the illusion of progress. Because if that programmer, if that thing, that creature walked into your stand-up in human form, typing half-correct garbage into your code base while ignoring your architecture and disappearing during cleanup, you'd fire them before they could say no blockers. Truing. That's because the cleanup and everything is based on you. Also, I do feel that the acceleration and the feeling fast does come from people who never learned how to program very well. Just throwing that out there. This article just got 88.78% better. Yeah. True. I think that a lot of people's wow with AI is inversely proportional to their ability to program. I don't think that's like a bad statement to make. Like I find there's things that are nice about it. I don't ever have to write CSS again. That's great. But I wrote CSS for a decade, and I don't want to write CSS. I hate CSS. I don't want to write logging statements. I want something to just write a logging statement for me. I know what I want to log. I never want to think about that ever again. And I think that a lot of people that are really hyped up about AI, like beyond into the hype realm, not to the realism realm, but the hype realm, are simply because for the first time in their life, they're feeling the experience of what it's like to be a good programmer. And that makes them feel something magical. They can't believe you could actually accomplish something with some level of speed.
Young folks don't know that if you move too fast, you'll finish too early and leave behind a big mess.
Absolutely true, Lithium. Very insightful comment. Very happy to have it. And so I think that this feeling of having experience for the first time, like you get to feel like you have a decade and a half of experience when you've only been programming for 2 years. There is something about that I think is probably intoxicating or mesmerizing, right? And so it just feels way more awesome than it actually is. So you live in the realm of delusion for a while because you think that this is a magical experience, which it's not all that magical. There's things about it that are really great. COBOL programmers, key sheeters ass take. I'm not sure what that means, but COBOL programmers are key sheeters. Quiche is good. Yeah, quiche is delicious. But slap Microsoft marketing label on it and plug it into an IDE of every developer in the org. Now that's innovation, science, progress, profit. I mean, there is a lot of nice parts about Copilot. I mean, again, I like Super Maven significantly more thus far. I found Copilot to be really wrong. It's like Microsoft made a good idea. Well, I guess GitHub made the good idea, and then after making the idea, they never improved it ever again for any reason ever, and they decided that it would be a terrible idea to make it nicer. And then that's what you get. I don't know what it is. It's crazy. A real Copilot on a commercial airliner, they know the plane, the systems. They've done the simulations. They go through recertification, and when they speak, it's to enhance the pilot, not to shotgun random advice into the cockpit and inject themselves mid-flight. Hell yeah. The hell yeah. Copilot isn't that. It's just a ghost of 1,000 blog posts and a cocky Stack Overflow post whispering, hey, I saw this once with my eyes, which means it's good code. Let's deploy it. Then vanishing when the app hits production and the landing gear won't come down. Yeah, I mean, it all makes sense. I understand what he's saying. What he's saying is that Copilot helps you produce code. It doesn't help you solve the problems in the production of it, which makes sense. I mean, that's by the very nature of Copilot, that makes sense. Right? If you let that ghost fly the plane, you'll deserve the ball of flames you go up in. Truing. But also at the exact same time, the reason why I'm going back to using this again, sweet Super Maven, is because I have to just simply take more time and read all the output. I just don't have to type it as much. There's that. He's talking about Copilot, which is different than LLMs, right? I just have to simply slow down, right? He's not a Copilot. To think of it like a Copilot or to think of it like a junior dev, again, I've told you how much I hate that argument. I think it's extremely incorrect argument. I think it's a bad analogy. I think every part of it is bad. I do not think it is good. Now that I've said that, it is a very fancy code generator that uses statistics to generate code that is likely the finishing part of what you started. Okay? Based on the context around. That's what it is. And if you use it like that, I like the fact that I can type faster because at the end of the day, I want to be able to build the thing I want. That's it. Chapter 2, the props. I really do. But seriously though, I really do hate this idea of calling LLMs junior, like bad junior programmers. It is just frustrating me to the universe. Let's get one thing straight before I resume torching this synthoid hellspawn with the fury of the sun. It ain't all bad. Even the grifter at the poker table with a booze lobotomy occasionally hits a flush. And Copilot, well, sometimes it knows a thing or two. It's true. You are young. You've never touched C++. You're staring at the syntax like it's some Martian cave painting. You ask the Oracle for help, and boom, there it is. Templates, smart pointers, range-based for loops, syntactically pristine, like it slithered straight out of Bjorn's brain and straight onto your screen. True. It feels good, right? It does feel good. I agree. I understand why this happens. I heard my name, C++. Like, I get this. This is exactly what I said earlier. This is precisely the argument I made earlier. The magic of it all is proportional to your experience, or inversely proportional to your experience. So, again, when I go in here and type in slog, this does, okay, nice job. That was nice and slow. This doesn't feel magical at all. It simply feels convenient, which is a gigantic difference. This, on the other hand, if you're in a language you don't know and things are just appearing for you, it feels more magic. It feels much, much different. And so for me, it's a matter of convenience, right? Of course, it doesn't know the edge cases. It won't whisper, hey, shared pointer might leak if you get clever and toss raw pointers into the mix like a maniac. It doesn't point you to the holy scrolls where veterans debate exceptional guarantees like theologians dissecting scripture. But if you already know what you want and just need the incantation, it's a better, quicker scribe than most human interns. And it doesn't complain when you ask it to write a template to metaprogramming code at 3 a.m. Facts on facts. Let's go. Theologians and shared pointer theologians and veterans debating exception guarantees. Same thing. What are these two pictures? They're the same one. That's a fantastic statement. This guy's writing is really, really good. Now, let's say you're doing deep programming work, system design, big boy decisions, infrastructure, this kind of thing that requires a spine and an encyclopedia of knowledge, the Byte Go YouTube channel, and an encyclopedic knowledge of the Byte Go YouTube channel. You lay out your plan like a general before a war. Here's the ingress. Here's the queue. Here's the cache and validation policy that might just kill us all. Then you ask Copilot, hey, what's going to break? Suddenly, it starts rattling off weaknesses like a security auditor. Maybe half of them are dumb. Maybe some of them are duplicated. But it dumped the brainstorm faster than your junior ever could. And now you've got ammo to write a spec that makes you look like you cranked your hog with Martin Kleppman himself. I don't know what that last part means. What does that last part mean? Can somebody explain to me what cranking your hog means? Pick, I need you in here, because I don't know precisely the meaning to that. I assume it might have something to do with motorcycles. Is that a hog? I'm only allowed to say hog 3 times on a stream? Sometimes you're just tired, not mentally dead, but running low. Your brain is turning object into string mode, and you don't need help. You just don't want to rotate the matrix in your skull like you're solving a Rubik's Cube made of jelly. And you say, hey, I've got the C# object, and I want link query that groups it by field X, sums Y, and filters Z. Copilot answers like a weird little gremlin slave creature with a clipboard done, boss. You don't trust it. You check it line by line, but still, you don't have to juggle 20 methods chains in your head. And that buys you time to think about your actual problems. Beautiful. And I've also been, like, this is the number one way I get bit, by the way, is this right here. This is the way I get destroyed by Copilot every single time, or any of these autocompletes. This is the one right here. It's always this style when you're just like, I don't really care. I generally know. And then you look and you're like, yeah, that's a filter. That's a map. That's a reduce. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then afterwards, you're like, wow, that wasn't good at all. That wasn't good at all. That was terrible. That's the one. This is always the one that gets me every time. Maybe you're reading some dense mathematical white paper. Nope, not me. Okay. Hey. That's not me. The kind written by a deranged mathematicians with PhDs and no regrets for human sanity. You don't have the energy to transmute this latex-laden Elder Scroll into code. Copilot takes a swing and gives you a half-baked pseudocode scaffold. Garbage, maybe, but garbage you can build on. You handle the performance tuning, the SIMD, the low-level grit. It just gave you the scaffolding to stack explosives on. This man sounds like he's a game programmer, right? This feels like something because The only people I truly know that are reading in dense mathematical white papers are people that are building games and doing a lot of the stuff themselves. Am I wrong on that? Bet bro is cracked. Bro, I mean, he sounds cracked. Yes. Freaking nerds. Maybe you inherit someone else's code base. A minefield of nested closures, half-competent hacks, and a variable names like D and foo. Okay, I mean, yeah. Who doesn't like a little D in their application? You know what I'm talking about? Who doesn't like a little D in their app? Okay, it's totally normal. A mess of complex OOP-isms where you have to traverse 18 files just to follow a single behavior. You don't have all day. You need a flyover, an aerial view of the war zone before you land and start disarming traps. You ask Copilot, what is this code doing? It won't be poetry. It won't necessarily provide a full picture, but it will be close enough to orient yourself before driving into the guts. You know what I actually like doing? And this is something I just recently did with OpenCode, is that I find something like OpenCode, right? And I go in here, and then I'll open up Cursor at this location, and then I'll ask it some overarching question. Right? Like, hey, is there I know nothing about this repo. Could you please look at the repo and find where alt screen where we set alt screen for OpenCode? Because I didn't even know, I don't know Bubble Tea by heart. I don't know what the call is or anything. I'm just like, hey, go find this thing for me. And it goes through and it'll take like 2 minutes, but then it will be like, here's the only place that it finds this thing. This is where it's happening. And so then you're like, oh, okay, then you can start playing with stuff. I really do like that as a means to search. I think syntactic searching or semantic searching with the LLMs is actually pretty fantastic, because even if it only gets like half of it correct, it's still half correct, and that's going to be further, and I'm very happy about that, right? I like that. It makes me very happy. So, props where props are due. Copilot is like a thoughtless yet high-functioning, practically poor intern. I hate that. I hate that idea. It's not like any of those things. Great with syntax memory, surprisingly quick at listing out your blind spots, good at building scaffolding if you feed it the exact right words, horrible at nuance, useless without supervision, will absolutely kill you in production if let alone for 30 seconds. Now let's get back to setting it on fire. Truing. Those are all good phrases, and I agree with everything that was just said, except for the intern part. I know. I probably need to quit fighting that, but I hate it. Interns care so much more. Exactly. Thank you, Jeremy. Dude, my favorite people in the universe to ever have worked with has always been interns. You know why? Because they just want to do things. They'll go off and come up with a crazy solution, and even if it's completely incorrect, they'll still attempt to do something. And they care, and they learn, and they discuss, and they want to do something cool, and they actually want to make something better, right? They actually attempt to remove entropy from a system, whereas AI does not. Maybe at Netflix, I've never had an intern at Netflix. So guess what? No, we just hired the right people. You know what I mean? You interview 30 interns. That's what I'd do. I'd interview somewhere between 30 to 50 interns, and then I'd find the one that I know is going to be a banger. That's how. Okay? It's really like that simple. That's what I did. And I did that at the very end of Netflix. We started getting interns, so I also I also interviewed like another 20 to 30 interns. And the interns we hired, they're awesome. It's just like taking the time and finding the right person, and they care. They absolutely care, and they sometimes remove entropy from a system, and sometimes they come up with amazing ideas that you would have never thought to do. How long does it take you to do to interview 50 interns? Well, you have to have some screening in there. So you do some of the screening and you do some of the full day interviews depending on how you're doing it. And then that's how you, honestly, that's how you do it, right? So you'd have to have 4 people doing hour-long screening stuff just to make sure, hey, can you do a URL? Can you do a URL? Can you do reconnecting WebSockets? Can you do async request queue? Can you just show me you can program? Give me the URL parameters, right? Show me something that you know how to do. I like reconnecting WebSockets because I think it's pretty fun, right? So I don't know. I just love that. And so that's why I'm so against this, because this is not what AI does. AI adds entropy to a system. It doesn't care. It's not the same. It's just not the same, right? It's just a really fancy autocomplete. Okay, anyways, chapter 3. You as a programmer. First things first. I like to code, not supervised, not hover over a synthetic lobotomized chatbot like some drooling silicon intern trying to remember what STD move actually does. I don't want to be the meatbag middle manager reviewing some neural net's fever dream of a switch statement. I want to build shit, real shit, weird shit, systems that are on fire type shit. This guy's based. Whoever this guy is, I'm going to let him write my tombstone, okay, when I inevitably die from you degenerates. All right, but I just use AI for boilerplate. You whimper, clutching your Copilot subscription. Listen to yourself. If you're writing the same boilerplate every day like some industry-aged cog monkey, automate it yourself. Write a library, invent a macro, reclaim some dignity. If AI is doing your boring parts, what exactly is left for you to do? Fidget with sliders, paint by numbers while the inference works magic? And let's not ignore the FOMO goblins. I see you pounding Monster Energy at 2 a.m., telling yourself you're building the future while you slap together some Frankenstein crud app with a bot spoon-feeding you syntax it's scraped from 2016 GitHub. It's buggy. It's ugly. You don't even give it a once-over before you post that video to Twitter. I'm just moving fast, you say. Yeah, straight off a cliff like a lemming. AI isn't helping you build something novel. It can't. It only knows what's been done before. It's autocomplete with superiority complex. Nice. That's a good statement. I feel some of these things. I feel them. I feel what he's trying to say here. I mean, he only knows what has been done before. That's not quite true. That statement, I mean, there's a whole idea of inspiration, right? Don't drink too much Monster Energy. Agreed. Let's see. You want real connection to code? You earn that. You dig in. You wrestle with seg faults at 3 a.m. You pace your apartment muttering about pointer arithmetic. You burn through Handmade Hero until you get it. Casey mentioned? Dude, I called him. I knew it. He was a game dev. I called it from the beginning. I could just feel it. Bros calling up Casey Muratori. Let's go. Computerenhance.com for all of your sweet performance needs and other things. Casey Muratori, awesome guy. Fantastic. Don't tell him Prime sent you. Just go there because he's awesome. Bird expert, Eagle sex spiral expert, for those that are wondering. You write your own damn notes instead of slapping lecture slides and pretending it counts. When you outsource the thinking, you outsource the learning. You become a conduit for a mechanical bird regurgitating its hunt directly into your baby bird mouth. You don't know your code. You're babysitting it. Again, I said that right at the beginning. It's true. And I feel a resistance to learning it the more it strays from me, because then it's like learning a whole new project. I get this. Totally understand that. And I'm not even convinced it's actually faster to let something else do it. I'm not convinced about that at all. We hate birds. Let's talk about the quality of your code too, because it ain't getting better. Most engineers already write bloated, abstracted glacial code that burns CPU cycles like a California wildfire. Too soon on that one. Clean code, you're writing for other programmers, academic circle jerk, not the hardware. Let's see. You've forgotten that the machine matters. AI has no concept of memory locality, no intuition for cache misses. It won't unroll a loop or spot the false sharing in your atomic struct. It's trained on code that's already an insult to silicon. Dang. Okay, so he feels very strong about produced code, and I don't blame him. When you really look at, like, especially the more you vibe, when you look at a true vibe-coded project, like what you look in there, it feels like you feel it. You go, what the hell has happened inside of this program? Like, this is insanity. This is not what I am seeing is not okay, and I do not like it. Like, we did that, right? We let you guys, Twitch chat, prompt your way, and you built a video game that was a first-person shooter with anime waifus and cheese. And guess what? It most certainly worked. It most certainly had anime waifus. But at the end of the day, it was insane, right? The code was absolutely just, I don't even know how to describe it. I'll be right back. I gotta pee. Anyways, all right. I really think that people overplay this whole, like, LLMs generate crap code. They solve the exact problem at the exact moment given the exact context. Or, sorry, I said that incorrectly. They produce the statistically likely output given the exact context at the exact moment. They have they don't have any reasoning. And so I don't think it's crap code. I think that given the context, it probably is not bad code. but there's no holistic look into the system, right? And so it's just like, that's why you got to do that. No creative capacity. Yeah. And so, I've changed my tune a little bit when it comes to AIs. I'm no longer insulting them for generating crap code. I mean, their code is unusable, generally speaking, but it's the reason why they solve the way they solve, right? It's because every single time you prompt them, they don't refactor things into a better world. They solve the problem and keep moving forward. So you get these weird just stratifications in your code where you can actually see each prompt, right? You can actually see the prompt go through. To be frank, my code is also unusable. It's not true, Dan. You're actually a very talented programmer, and it's silly to say that. You're very, very good. But you get the idea. Prime hates open code. No. I don't have any. That's why I use these things, because I use them. But I recognize the problem, which is that you can see they stratify, right? They have all these problems. The problem isn't laziness; it's degradation. The engineers stop exploring, stop improving, stop caring. Okay, now this is such a good argument. This is the core. This is like my biggest argument against AI. Has nothing to do with the code. It has everything to do with this thing. When experience is for free, you get none of it, because experience has never been free. And I get that. We all live in we all live at some level of abstraction, right? Like if you're programming for the web, you don't know what it takes to you don't know what Malik took to reserve a memory buffer. But I also am not sure if you need to know how that works. Nice when experience is never free. Thank you. I just made it up right now. But it speaks to my experience, right? But I love this because the problem, again, when someone feels like they're a senior engineer because they can move at a speed that's incredible, it doesn't mean that they should move at the speed that is that incredible. And B, it also means that they don't really care what is being produced. They're actually not learning or growing. They're actually just moving fast, which in itself is its own problem. I actually do worry about in like 5 to 10 years, what happens to all the people who don't know how to code, and we live in this weird world where machines aren't fast enough because our hardware really hasn't improved that much. A lot of the people who understand how code works has slowly like aged out of the industry. And we're just kind of in this weird world where we're just like, well, wait a second. There's a lot of problems here. Right? There's a lot of problems here, and we're just kind of in this world, like the worst world of them all, because we haven't hit the utopia super paradise, right? That sucks. Counter argument: if you really want to learn, AI can be much better. Yes, I also agree with that. But the problem is that AIs don't again, law one of humans, which is that humanity is a lot like electricity. Kirchhoff's and humanity follow very similar principles, which is they'll take the path of least resistance. It's just almost exclusively true. Now, there are times that that's not true, but it is very, very true. And so if someone can learn, but also can get the answer immediately, do you think they're going to bang their head for 10 hours trying to understand how depth-first search works for the first time? Or do you think that they're going to probably get a lot of little artifacts and things seen and then slowly move, right? Aging devs need to mentor juniors. They do. I think it's great. I personally think an AI can be one of the best teachers out there just because it can generate stuff that you understand in the way you want to hear it. I think that's great. But I'm very curious if people will actually do that, right? Will people actually do it, or will it be the few? My assumption is this: the people who are going to learn to code will learn to code regardless of whether or not AIs exist. That's my hypothesis. They're going to learn no matter what. They're willing to learn from Stack Overflow. They're willing to learn from reading documentation. They're willing to learn from going slow and fighting really, really hard. And so therefore, when it actually comes down to it, they're going to learn, right? They're going to learn. Now, the only thing that'd be positive is AI may open up, right? So here, let's go like this. If these were the amount of people that are going to attempt to learn to program, these are the people that are going to learn to program. Maybe with AI, it has slightly increased because now these are people who would have traditionally given up, but due to the specific instructions have learned to program. I don't know how big this is, right? This I don't know. Or maybe this could have happened where it actually removes part of it because these people just, they thought the job was over. They thought that it was a not worthwhile career. Maybe they thought, who knows? I have no idea, right? We don't know what's happening to the pool. Anyways, one more layer of abstraction, one more lazy fetch call inside of a render loop. Eventually, you're living in the cathedral of technical debt, and every user pays milliseconds at a time, seconds at a time, and every click a tax on your apathy. 50 million users have an extra 3 seconds of unnecessary lag in a day because you wanted to hit tab rather than write code. That's nearly 5 years of cumulative waste time. Yeah, but cumulative waste time is kind of an irrelevant thing, right? You know, it is very depressing to look at the stats of like how many hours have Call of Duty been played, and it's, you know, it's enough that we probably could have cured cancer, created the sweetest new machines, and lived in a utopia. But at the exact same time, cumulative years don't mean anything, right? They don't mean anything because if it costs every person, if it costs 50 million people 3 seconds of unnecessary lag, it doesn't mean they could have used that unnecessary lag in a meaningful way. I also, I almost read what Code Girl said. I don't even know what you're saying. I also don't hit boys. What are we talking about in here? And the Copilot branding. A real Copilot, that's a peer. That's a certified operator who can fly the bird if you pass out from Taco Bell or pass out from bad Taco Bell. This is true. This is true. This is actually a really good insight right here. They train, they practice, they review checklists with you. GitHub Copilot is more of some guy who played Arma 3 for 200 hours and thinks he can land a 747. He read the manual once in Mandarin, backwards, and now he's shooting over your shoulder. Let me code that bit real quick. I saw it in a /dot comment. This is actually a pretty cool. I do like this. I do like this one. And let's see, at that point, you're not working with Copilot. You're playing Russian roulette with a loaded dependency graph. You want to be a real programmer? Use your head, respect the machine, or get out of the cockpit. Okay, I would go with a slightly different approach here. I'm not as negative as this person. I think that if you used Copilot and these LLMs to generate stuff, and that piqued your interest, then that's awesome. Gatekeeping, you shut the hell up with that word, okay? If you let someone gatekeep you, that wrote words on a blog on the internet, you're an idiot. Okay? Does he? Oh, I didn't realize he owns your keyboard. Oh, he has access to your fingies? Oh, I didn't know that. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, idiot. No, really, that it is the definition of being an idiot, is letting somebody on the internet tell you what you can and can't do. Okay? Now, if the police show up to your door and tell you can't do that, they have the right. If your mom comes up to you and tells you she doesn't think you should do that, maybe listen to her, consider her words. But if somebody on the internet's like, you want to be a real man? Well, guess what? You need to be able to do 400 push-ups in a row. You can also be like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't have to be that kind of man. I can be a different kind of man. Also, I don't believe you. You don't have to be the top G, okay? We don't need that guy, okay? You don't need that guy. You don't have to listen to him. Anyways, I'll say the inverse of this. You want to be a real programmer? He's 100% correct. He's 100% correct. If you want to be a real programmer, if you want to learn how to program, you're going to have to use your brain. I know. There's nothing about that statement that should be controversial at all. If you want to learn, you'll have to learn. Wow. Exciting. I can't even believe that statement exists. But if you don't know anything and you want to get something up to where you can move a colored square on the screen and then go from there and start learning, hey, that's great. Use it. Start simple. Honestly, part of me is kind of jealous about some of you new kids who get to learn, and I'm also very not jealous at all. I'm jealous of the fact that you get a colored square you could move on the screen with just a couple lines of code. Brother, I had to use like Win32 APIs to get Cornflower Blue to show up and 400 lines of code. Do you know what it's like trying to learn how to program when you first have to Win32? Do you have any idea what that's like? Do you realize that there's like 3 chapters of how to program a video game that's devoted to opening a window in Windows? It's god awful, okay? Windows APIs are why I have to go to therapy. It's true, okay? You had the whole XNA SATIs, yeah, but then XNA came around, and XNA, you just like wrote something on the screen and it happened, and it was incredible. And you got to learn, like I already started to learn game programming before that, and then I used XNA for a while, and it was so magical. And the learning process, and so many kids today, they get to just jump on, and you could write like 3 lines of code and be moving a square around in JavaScript. That's awesome, right? Like that's really cool. I love that, and I want, I'm hoping that helps you learn, right? When I call you guys kids, I feel like you're kids in the sense that I don't know, half of you probably have more experience than me, but half of you don't have more experience than me, so I call you guys kids. Okay? Magical, can't confirm it is. The Scratch kids are making 3D AAA FPS games, by the way. Dude, it's not even surprising if that's true. It's just incredible what Scratch can do. My son built like a little Minecraft robot to be able to build a house using Scratch, and I was just like, dude, let's go, right? Right? Let's go. It's awesome. The computer as a machine. Listen, you are human. Soft flesh, rotting teeth, synapses pissing electrical signals at each other, motivated by caffeine and spite. But you, at your most frazzled, sleep-deprived, raccoon-eyed best, you can try. You can squint at the layers of abstraction and see through them. Peel them back. Peel back the nice, ergonomic, type-safe, pure, lazy, immutable syntactic sugar and imagine the mess of assembly the compiler pukes up. You can feel the cache lines like a sixth sense. You know where the data wants to be and where the silicon gets angry when you screw that up. The machine is real. The silicon is real. The DRAM, the L1, the false sharing, the branch prediction, flipping a coin, it's all real. And if you care, you can work with it. If you want to make your program slither through memory like a steel serpent with a little to no overhead, you can tee up prefetches with finesse. You can hand roll an allocation strategy that makes malloc look like child's play. You can actually know when it's time to crack your knuckles and write a few lines of filthy yet beautiful inline assembly to directly inject steroids into your program's shiny cheeks.
Give me the meat.
Dude, by the way, likely. Get out of here. Please, we're not doing this. No one's allowed to do some C++ intrinsics in chat, okay? Honestly, this was super motivating. He is being right, though. You can learn all these things. Okay? You can do that. You're allowed to do this. Right? Is this sex talk for programming? Absolutely. But the bot has no clue. The bot has zero understanding. It can't tell a page fault from a paper cut. It'll hallucinate a memory model like it hallucinated after 2 days of no sleep. I need a little bit of tea for this read. Memory model like I hallucinated after 2 days of no sleep. It can't profile. It can't understand a flame graph. I actually think it probably could understand a flame. It could statistically guess what to do in a flame graph situation. I think it can because flame graphs are, well understood concrete information. It can't feel the cold burn of wasted CPU cycles on a hot loop. It'll copy the advice of a sweaty stranger from a 08 Stack Overflow thread who was benchmarking on a Pentium 4 with 512 megabytes of RAM in a dream. And it will say this is optimal, like it knows anything, like it's seen a cache miss. It hasn't. You have. What is this reminding me of? Like it's seen some sort of cache miss. It hasn't. It hasn't seen shit. You have. I've seen some shit in my day, right? It's like Danny Glover. All right, the thing will feed you trash. It'll feed you fake wisdom like from fake people and beg you to trust it. But if you want to make a fast, beautiful system, if you want to sculpt the kind of software that embeds in pacemakers and missile guidance systems and M1 tanks, you better throw that bot out the airlock and learn. Maybe you'll never write code that keeps a plane in the sky. Maybe you'll never push bits that hold human life into balance. Fine, maybe don't. But even if you're just slapping together another CRUD app for the bloated enterprise, you still owe your users some respect. You owe them dignity. I actually like this argument. I think this is a great argument. Also, I think an even better argument is, at the end of the day, you know what Cursor believes? Cursor believes people are still going to be programming. That's what Cursor believes. People that are doing AI right still believe you're going to be programming. So learning how to program is probably going to be good for you. It's probably going to be good for your career. It's probably going to take you far. It probably will take you much further than the people that don't over the course of the next 2 years. Hashtag ad. If it was an ad, that would have been an ad. But this was not an ad. I just know what Cursor thinks because I've talked to Michael. We've had him on stream. He still thinks programming is going to be very important. These users gave your company their money they worked for, in exchange for a tool, not a Kafka-esque time sink, not a bloated, leggy trash fire that chokes the silicon it's running on. They don't pay for you to phone it in from a co-working space, slapping tab repeatedly. When floating around in your padded chair cathedral, burning VC money at $250,000 per year. Wait, burning VC money at $250,000 per year? Are you serious? That's not VC money. That's not burning. Brother, Brother does not know VC money, Bernie. You could at least pretend to give a damn. Pretend long enough to profile something, to shave 200 milliseconds off a render, not to ship a broken experience like you're a modern day Picasso. This is a profession. Take pride in your life's work. Also, love this statement. You should do that. I think this is a good thing. Honestly, I think that's a good thing. To be satisfied with what you've built is a good thing. To be happy that you're becoming good at something. Pride is a sin, though. I think there's two different types of pride, right? There's the pride that makes you look down on others, the pride that elevates yourself. There's the sneaky pride, which is also the same pride, which is the fake humble pride, right? The one that you either think less of yourself or you pretend to think less of yourself. You know that one, the one that makes you feel like you're never good enough. That's also a form of pride because it makes you feel like you know everything and you know you're not good enough. That's also a form of pride. Anyways, a good definition of being humble, for those that are wondering, is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking about yourself less. It's a good way to think about it. All right, you build a strong taste by doing, by hurting, by shaving nanoseconds with surgical tools, by writing a routine on Monday, rewriting it Tuesday, and realizing Wednesday it still sucks. You don't build taste by asking MS Clippy of 2025 how to do your job. While we are in the long arc of computing history still covered in dirt, yanking our bits around with plows, we ride horses. But some of us, the ones with blown out eyeballs and scorched keyboards, some of us know how to build the next thing: trains, speedboats, hypersonic jets of pure code. And the ones who keep using AIs like it's divine oracle, they'll be out there trying to duct tape horses to an engine block, wondering why it doesn't fly, saying, hey, it's not flying. It's still not flying. Hey, it still does not fly. Fix, please. No mistakes. No errors. Granny's going to get it. Here's some chaos orbs. There's a part of that that's very funny about this, right? We've all seen it happen. I mean, this is like the classic trope right now is, hey, fix this. No, really fix it. It's not working. Hey, fix this. It's not working. I mean, I've personally done this, where I've tried to describe in greater and greater detail, repetitively trying to get something to fix it. And I also would like to say something about this right here, that he said right here. So for those that have been on the live stream, you know that I've been building a tool for AI. I want to build my own little sweet tool for AI. Currently, it's named Daydream. We're thinking about redoing it. I've rebuilt it in such a way that right now I launch the AI in a new pseudo terminal and pipe that stuff out to the front end, and I do all this kind of extra stuff to be able to make sure that my terminal stays in a good place, blah, 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 blah. But I realized that this is my second attempt at doing a version of this program, and I realize it's wrong, and I've actually come to the conclusion, and the correct version, I believe, which I will be hopefully revealing tomorrow or something like that I think is the correct version to build. And it took me, just like he said, multiple days. And that's because I'm quite positive that building a good product, you have to build it once, realize you should do it differently. Do it again, realize that second time is not correct. And then maybe the third or fourth time you actually get it correct. Just like what's called Harpoon. Harpoon did not start up like this. Harpoon started off actually as an alternate file. For those that don't know what alternate file is, same in this file. If I do, what's it called? Caret? No. Apparently they're calling that caret. Anyways, if I do caret, it goes back and forth between the alternate file, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's all it's doing. So I actually tried to make it have 3 alternate files. That's the original Harpoon. It actually took quite a bit before I came up to this idea like this, right? And that actually was inspired by a window manager, right? A window manager is the inspirational for Harpoon. So anyways, fun, long story that I don't know if you guys actually care about, but there we go. Dad, what is Harpoon? Harpoon is just a way to be able to run through files quickly, and you get to pin them. And so now I'm going to create an AI that does something very similar. Love Harpoon. Key to my workflow now. Yeah, Harpoon I think is one of the best things ever, but Harpoon took me 3 months of trying different ideas. My new AI one has taken me 3 weeks of trying different ideas until I came up with the right one while weeding yesterday. By the way, sub story, fun side story. I used a machete to cut weeds at this point. I'm at the point of weeding with a machete. But again, the reason why I say these things is that I want you to understand that there's something super special about this that I think this might be the best takeaway, which is building something, understanding the problem, and realizing you're wrong, and rebuilding it, and realizing you're wrong, and rebuilding it, and realizing you're wrong, and rebuilding it until the exact correct thing is incredible. And that's why, I mean, some people use AI for this exact thing. They use stakeholders and they take AI and they try to marry the two and go back and forth. That's why YC, if you're wondering why YC is so pro vibe coding, it makes perfect sense. Their goal is that every single week they want to be going to their stakeholders saying, hey, does this fit your problem? No, it doesn't. Okay. What's wrong with it? Okay, let me go back. Let me fix it. Go as fast as I can. Doesn't matter how much horse shit's on the inside. They just want it to, they want that horse shit to be wrapped with a nice bow and a nice little thing that looks good and go, right? So it's just so it makes perfect sense. But I like this right here. It's the same principle, which is you have to build something over and over and over again. Conclusion. The thing I hate most about AI and its ease of access, the slow, painful death of the hacker soul, brought not by the war of scarcity, but by convenience, by buttons, by bots. Dude, I feel it. The real horror isn't that AI will take our jobs. It's that it'll entice people who never wanted the job to begin with. People who don't care for quality. It'll remove the already tiny barrier to entry that at least required people to try and comprehend control flow. Vampires with SaaS dreams and Web3 in their LinkedIn bio. Empty husks who see the terminal not as a frontier, but as a shovel for digging up VC money. They'll drool over their GitHub Copilot like it's a holy spirit of productivity, pumping out a React crud like it's oxygen. They'll fork VS Code yet again just to sell the same dream to a similarly deluded kid. There was once magic here. There was once madness. That's a cool statement. This guy's a good writer. I just am fascinated by how he writes. I think there is still magic. And I'm not nearly as cynical as this writer. I think that even kids that start programming due to AI, I think that they will eventually pick up programming because you have to, and then the magic can start. Now, maybe it's a lot harder to get started with the magic because you're starting at a very complex program as opposed to something simple. But I think I cannot be a cynical person because I am too white pilled for it. I have to believe in hope. Hope is like the greatest thing. I mean, you know what? You know when hope stops? Based on Dante's writing, it's when you enter hell, right? It's the thing you abandon when you enter hell is hope. And so I just can't do it. Hopium, it's true. I'm that way. I'll always be that way. Kids would stay up all night on IRC with bloodshot eyes trying to render a cube in OpenGL without segfaulting their future. They cared. They would install Gentoo on a toaster just to see if it boot. They knew the smell of burnt voltage regulators in the exact line of assembly where Doom hit 10 FPS on their calculator. They were artists. He spelled autist really weird. All right, now, let's see. They wrote code like jazz musicians, full of rage, precision, and divine chaos. Now, I think this is a bit too colory or a bit too maybe nostalgic for the past as well. I think it's really easy to look at the past and think it's better than the current position. It's way too glossy. There's plenty of problems that also existed before, right? So I can't quite say that. Well, this guy is not younger than 40, frankly. No, he's probably not younger than 40. I think that, that's the thing is that there's so much to learn from people that are older, and I think that it's really easy to neglect what someone says because they're romanticizing something. But you got to remember that there's also some amount of wisdom in romanticizing. There is. There's also something about it that can be really good. He's 21. Okay, if he's 21, then that's hilarious. It makes me a little bit confused how he's writing IRC with bloodshot eyes. Now, we're building a world where the curiosity gets lobotomized at the door. Some poor bastards born to be great is going to be told to review this AI-generated patch set for 8 hours a day until all that wonder calcifies into apathy. The terminal will become a spreadsheet, a debugger. Let's see, the debugger a coffin. Dude, this is such a good call. Man, I love this. I love this paragraph, which is I do fear for the world of just where programming turns purely into code review of slop. If that's the case, it's going to be hard for a lot of people aren't going to make it there. You know what I mean? Honestly, this article is incredible. There's a lot of great things about this article. He makes a lot of insightful jumps, but I feel like I've been saying this for a while. One of my big fears is just a huge set of roles that become people who only review. And I think review is just it's painful, man. I like writing code. Writing code is my favorite thing to do. Because you don't know what you don't know. That's a cruel joke. We'll fill this industry with people who think they are good because they're bought past the CI. They'll flow through confident. They'll float through, confident, while real ones, the hungry ones, get chewed up by the system that doesn't value understanding anymore. Just output, just tokens per second. I mean, to be fair, though, the world has only ever cared about this, right? Like, at the end of the day, people only care about this. I will say this much, that if you taste ginger that is organic versus ginger that's not organic, you can typically taste a big difference. It just is when you're making kombucha. I had a friend who was a chemical engineer, and he used to make fun of me for buying organic stuff. And then he said he couldn't make kombucha correctly without organic ginger, and he hated the fact that organic ginger tasted better. It should be the exact same as the other one. And he went on the science with me, and he was so pissed off that he couldn't make good stuff without doing organic ginger. And so he was a chemical engineer, and dude, it was just so funny watching this change in him. But the reality is that people care about the output. They don't care about how much you handcraft it, right? Most people don't care that you handcrafted this beautiful ginger, or that it was just rammed into the ground by a machine and it had its genes transformed to grow at a maximal speed, and all this things, because people just don't care. That's never been the thing they've cared about. They don't care about the artisanal output, just like video games. No one cares that your video game was masterfully handcrafted over 6 years. They care about the game working, right? No one cares about Balatro and its 10,000 line function that decides its game state. Nobody cares about that. You know what? I will say this, though. I do care about the fact that Balatro eats my cell phone battery. I do care about that. I would like a little bit more hand artisanal working on the performance there, buddy. But Uncle Bob cares. I don't think Uncle Bob cares. Right? When you're using a product, you don't care. You just don't. Like, if we're real here, Twitch chat is actually pretty impressive. Because like you look at YouTube chat. YouTube chat crashes my browser and will freeze my entire like Linux experience sometimes, because it just breaks, because it's crappy. It has a memory leak, and eventually it just explodes my system. Whereas this thing is moving faster, and it actually works pretty good, and I'm happy about it. I don't care how YouTube or Twitch chat is made, right? Is Twitch chat awesome, or is it shitty? I don't know, but I'm happy that it exists. You know what I mean? I'm just throwing that out there. I don't think people care about how artisanal it is. You know, and I think that's a bit sad. They just care if it works. And often we just care about the output. You know, I know it's sad, but I'm a victim of my own, same thing, right? Which is that if I create something bad, doesn't matter how hard I tried. It just doesn't, you know? No one cares at the end of the day. It's not capitalism, it's human behavior. Right? That's just people. People care about things working. They don't care about how it's done. You wouldn't play half the video games you've ever played in your lifetime realizing what horrible conditions they were created in if you cared about how something was made. Just throwing it out there. And what's worse, we normalize this mediocrity, cement it in the tooling. Turn it into a best practice. We'll enshrine this current bloated, sluggish, over-abstracted hellscape as the pinnacle of software. The idea that building something lean and wild and precise, or even squeezing every last drop of performance out of a system, will sound like a folklore. True. If that happens, if the last real programmers are drowned in a sea of button-clicking career chasers, then I pity the smart outsider kids to come after me. Defer your thinking to the bot, and we all rot. I like that. Don't defer your thinking. What a hell of a statement. It's a great statement to end on. I think he did a really great job right here. Right? I think he did a really great job of this. We should all, you should at least put in the thinking. Whether or not, at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, you can make concessions, right? There's certain things you just don't care about. If you're making a quick tool and someone just needs a UI interface for it and you don't really care about it, and it's an internal customer inside of an organization, and you just need to produce it for 10 people, I think that you can make significantly different concessions than if you're making it for a bunch of people, right? You kind of have to have that core competency of what is the concessions I'm willing to make and when to make them. And so for me, it's pretty obvious when I do something and when I don't do something. Anyways, I don't think burn the vibe coders again. I don't like to give vibe coders a lot of crap because I mean, if anything, I mostly just feel bad for them because their ability to program is bound to the machine's ability to output in the environment it's given and their ability to describe a problem with English or whatever language they're using to communicate. That's really hard because sometimes describing a problem is really, really hard. It's like describing how to tie shoelaces. It can be really hard. It's much easier to tie a shoe than it is to describe how to tie shoelaces. The name is the Primogen.